Hey everyone, Brock here, and welcome to my end of year best list. These are the 20 films that I think best exemplified what 2024 had to offer in cinema. I did see a lot of movies this year. There's stuff I didn't get to see, but I did hit 120 movies for the year, 2024 releases. I saw a lot of stuff. I saw a lot of garbage like Argyle, and I saw a lot of good stuff like the stuff that you're going to hear about on this list. Yeah, without further ado, let's take it away. So every year, no matter how hard I try, I feel like I always miss some films when it gets to be list time. Um, Either they played in Chicago or Kalamazoo, but I was directing a show and couldn't get away to see them, or maybe they are in limited release in New York and LA right now and will be coming to our area soon. But there's five films this year that I think could have been on this list. There's probably many more than five that could have been on this list, but there's five that I'm thinking of that I would have loved to see before I made this list, but I didn't get the chance to. So I'm going to shout them out right now. They are in alphabetical order. All We Imagine Is Light by Payal Kapadia, Flow by Ginsil Balotis, Nickel Boys by Ramel Ross, Queer by Luca Guadagnino, and Sing Sing by Greg Guidar. So before we get to our top 20, I'm going to do some honorable mentions. And I know we're already going to do a top 20. Do we need honorable mentions? Isn't this indulgent enough? Well, it's my list, so I'm going to be indulgent. These are five films that I thought were all excellent. Um, Almost made the cut, but not quite. So I'm going to list them off in alphabetical order, starting with the excellent documentary Daughters by Angela Patton and Natalie Ray, followed by the just great Western. Like, they don't make them like this anymore. Horizon, an American Saga, Chapter 1 by Kevin Costner. The man knows how to frame a shot. Then we've got The People's Joker by Vera Drew, which for my money was the best comic book movie of the year. An unauthorized takedown of DC Comics with a trans perspective. Then we have Robot Dreams, which is an animated film by Pablo Berger about a robot and a dog and their friendship, and it made me cry. It's beautiful. And finally, Thelma by Josh Margolin. See this film and then call your grandma and tell her you love her. It's so good. And now, on to the top 20. All right, so we're going to do my number 20 through number 16 in kind of a rapid fire succession. I'm going to talk a little bit about each one, starting with number 20, His Three Daughters by Azazel Jacobs. This is really a three-hander with Natasha Lyonne, Carrie Coon, and Elizabeth Olsen as sisters who are sitting vigil over their father's bedside as he's dying. This is like a really excellent play, and you're watching three actresses at the top of their game do their thing. It's excellent. Number 19 is La Chimera. It's by Alice Rohrwacher. It's an Italian film, really lyrical, really beautiful. It looks at an Italian treasure hunter. Well, he's an English treasure hunter in Italy, played by Josh O'Connor, and his gang of Italian thieves who follow him around raiding Etruscan tombs. Really just a beautiful, intoxicating film. If you've never seen anything by Alice Rohrwacher, I think you should check this one out. Number 18 is Problemista by Julio Torres. This is a really clever, smart, surreal look at the immigrant experience in America today. Julio Torres writes, directs, and stars in the film as Alejandro, an El Salvadoran man who is here in America hoping to become a toy designer, but has to work to get his visa to stay in the country. So he starts working for Tilda Swinton. Just really, if you don't know Julio Torres, check out his work. He's just one of a kind. Number 17 is Memoir of a Snail. This is by Adam Elliott. This is a stop motion animated film that is for adults. It follows a girl named Grace and her brother Gilbert, who are separated when their parents die. They're orphaned, and kind of follows their lives post that, and how they meet people and how those people become their chosen family and how they are, fighting to get back together with each other and reunite. It's really a beautiful and special film that proves that animation is not just an art form for children, it is an art form for everyone. And finally, number 16 is Juror Number 2 by Clint Eastwood. The man is 94 and he's still got it. This is a really excellent film. If you love films like 12 Angry Men, you'll love this. Great performances from Nicholas Hoult. Toni Collette is serving in this movie. Yeah, I can't recommend this one enough. It almost made my top 15, um, but these 15 that are coming up are just a smidge ahead. So, yeah. All right, so 15 through 11. We've got at number 15, Snack Shack by Adam Reimeyer. This was a film that really took me by surprise. It's a coming of age story. It's a raunchy teen comedy. It stars Gabriel LaBelle of The Fablemans, which is like one of my favorite movies. That's how I discovered this movie. It's about two teens in the early 1990s who put in a bid to run their community pool's snack shack, and kind of all the misadventures that they get into along the way. This one summer in their lives, it's a really great slice of life. Movie with excellent vibes, great performances from Gabriel LaBelle and Connor Sherry, who co-stars with him. He's a real discovery. Snack Shack, check it out. It's one of the gems of the year. Speaking of gems of the year, number 14 is Ghostlight by Alex Thompson and Kelly O'Sullivan. This was a movie that I'd heard about coming out of film festivals. I'm a community theater person, and I heard this was a movie about community theater. And it's about a man who is going through something. We don't quite know what he's going through, but along the way we find out, and I won't spoil it here. But he's dealing with a lot of anger. He's dealing with a lot of repressed feelings about this event that he can't quite move past. And he stumbles upon a community theater that is putting on a production of Romeo and Juliet. He gets involved with them. The theater is run by Dolly De Leon, and a great performance. She is always excellent. And Keith Kupfer plays the lead of this film, Dan. He is excellent in this film and deserves like all the flowers. He is so good. I had never seen him before in anything, but he is just outstanding. This film is really about the healing power of theater, the healing power of art, how we process things through art, and it's just a real love letter to community theater scene. So if you love community theater, I recommend you check out Ghostlight. And really, if you just love a good family drama, Ghostlight, it's excellent. Number 13 is Wicked by John M. Chu. I was not looking forward to this film, I have to say. All my friends were like, "Are you so excited for Wicked?" And I was like, "No, this looks like CGI garbage. I don't want to see this. 3 hour first act of Wicked. No thanks." I was really wrong. This movie is great. It fixes a lot of the problems I have with the stage show, which is that I feel like it moves from plot point to plot point and song to song to song. So by the time you get to the end, you're like, I don't care about any of these people. We've moved too fast. This really takes its time. You get to know the characters. You get to really yeah, go on this journey with them. Cynthia Erivo, excellent as always. I mean, she's just like a generational talent. But what I did not expect was Ariana Grande, who gives the supporting female performance of the year in this film. If she doesn't win the Oscar, there's just something wrong. She's outstanding. The whole film is a delight. By the end of the movie, I mean, I was just like cheering. It's excellent. And please see this in a theater. This is not a TV movie. I think this is one you have to experience in the theater. Yeah, so number 12 is Evil Does Not Exist by Ryosuke Hamaguchi. Ryosuke Hamaguchi is a filmmaker who I discovered a few years back when he did this double whammy of Wheel of Fortune and Fantasy, which is an anthology film, and Drive My Car in 2021, which was my favorite film of the year. He tells stories in such an interesting way, and going from Drive My Car to this is such an interesting choice. Drive My Car is a 3 hour character study. This is an hour and 45-minute eco parable about a community in Japan, a small village in Japan, who is dealing with a company coming in to put in a glamping site in the forest where they all live. And there is a scene in this movie that is one of the best scenes of the year, which is a meeting that is held between the people at the company with the members of the community. They're kind of yielding questions from the community, and it is so well written, and it just takes its time, and it's just so smart and so good. And the ending of this film is the most haunting ending of the year. I'm still questioning what it all meant, but I know I just loved it. And finally, number 11 is Trap by M. Night Shyamalan. I am so surprised by this movie. This almost made my top 10. It was very close. M. Night Shyamalan, he is such a great director, and this movie is so strange. I tell people it's like it was written by aliens because the dialogue. M. Night Shyamalan writes really strange dialogue that doesn't feel like it's being spoken by humans. It doesn't seem natural. The situations that his characters are in don't seem natural. For instance, this is set at a concert, and like it's a sold out concert, right? Josh Hartnett, who plays the lead of the film, drives up in his car and parks right next to the concert, like 10 minutes before it starts, in free public parking at a sold out stadium. And it's just not even like questioned. It's just so strange. And yet, it's just such a great film. Josh Hartnett's giving such a great performance. I would nominate him for an Oscar for this. He plays a dad who takes his daughter to a concert, but very early on in the film, we discover that he is a serial killer and has a man in his basement who he's planning to kill. But also at this concert, the police are there, and they have gotten a tip that this serial killer, the butcher, is at the concert. And so it's Josh Hartnett figuring out how to get out of this concert and how to escape this trap. And it takes a really interesting turn about midway through, and I won't talk about it anymore. But it is one of the best twists of the year. I think it's just such a delightful movie. All the performances are great. The direction is so solid. Really great Hitchcock throwback that if you like Hitchcock movies and you like really weird, surreal stuff, I think you should check out Trap. It's great. All right, top 10 time. So number 10 is The Wild Robot by Chris Sanders. This was a film that I was not familiar with the source material for. It's based on a series of children's books about a robot named Roz who comes to this island full of animals. There's no people on the island. She crashes up against the shore. Her ship that she's being shipped in goes down, and she has to acclimate herself to this world of the animals. She learns their language, and the animals start talking. And I thought, oh no, it's a movie where animals start talking. This is going to be like some Illumination garbage, but it's not. It's so well done. The voice acting is excellent, including Lupita Nyong'o, who plays Roz. She inadvertently kills a family of geese, leaving behind only a gosling egg. She hatches this gosling. She names him Brightbill, and she becomes his mother. And you really believe that she is his mother. It's a beautiful film. I sobbed in the theater. This should win all of the awards for animated feature. It's stunning animation, beautiful story. You can take your whole family to it, and it's just so moving. I love this film. Number 9 is Conclave by Edward Berger. This is a really juicy movie about the election of a pope. It kind of plays like a trashy airport novel, but I mean that in a good way. It's a thriller. It stars Ray Fiennes as the dean of the College of Cardinals, and when the pope dies, he is in charge of putting together the conclave to elect the new pope. Great ensemble of actors. You've got Stanley Tucci, Isabella Rossellini, John Lithgow. Like, it's a murderer's row of just acting talent. And it's a process movie. If you like process movies, I love a process movie. Spotlight, All the President's Men, 12 Angry Men. These movies where, you're just going through this process. This is so thrilling, though. It really kept me on my toes. It kept me guessing up until the end. The ending is sure to divide people, but I think it's an excellent ending. The amount of times I gasped and shrieked at this gossipy, catty movie about the election of a pope really surprised me. I loved this one. Number 8 is a movie that I just saw recently. It is Baby Girl by Helena Rhine. Nicole Kidman and Harris Dickinson really kind of pull out this two-hander. Antonio Banderas is also in the film as Nicole Kidman's husband, and he's great too. But this is really about Rami and Samuel. Rami is a CEO at a company, and Samuel is her subordinate. But Rami has desires, I guess you would say, needs that her husband can't quite meet. And Samuel kind of meets those. I said in my Letterboxd review that Harris Dickinson kind of plays this like kink positive Mary Poppins figure who comes into this woman's life and helps her understand how to get what she needs, how to get what she wants. It's not a film that judges any of its characters. It's not a film that has any villains. It's a really tender film, which was not something that I expected going into it. This movie really took me by surprise in the way that it tells the story that it's telling. Nicole Kidman is excellent. She's so vulnerable. She's so brave. Harris Dickinson is so tender. He is so sexy. it is not the movie that you think it's going to be, and I mean that as the highest compliment. Number 7 now is Furiosa, a Mad Max saga by George Miller. George Miller playing in the Mad Max world again, doing a prequel to what I consider to be the best action film of all time, which is Fury Road. How's that going to play out? It's kind of what I wondered. Like, do we need this? And I don't know that we like needed it, but I'm so glad we got it. This tells the story of Furiosa's life from her childhood in the Green Place all the way up to the events of Fury Road. It is a Mad Max saga, and it is a saga in the truest sense of the word. This movie is epic. It really just it goes in directions that you never thought it would go in because it's so different than Fury Road. It's almost biblical in scope. Anya Taylor-Joy plays Furiosa as an adult. She has maybe 20 lines in the whole film, and I'm not exaggerating, but she does so much with her face, with her eyes. So expressive, such a great performance. We've also got Alia Brown plays her younger self, and she's great too. But then there's Chris Hemsworth, who really is excellent in this film. He plays a character named Dr. Dementis, who basically abducts Furiosa. He's responsible, his gang is responsible for her being taken from her home. And he gives this performance, this villainous performance that is so layered and complex, something I did not expect from Chris Hemsworth at all. It almost reminds me of something like Heath Ledger's Joker in The Dark Knight. It's that kind of nuance that you do not see from a villain in these types of movies very often. Really excellent film. George Miller, nobody's doing it like you. He can make 50 more of these. I hope this is not his last film because he is one of the best we've got. Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Check it out. So that takes us to number 6, which is The Substance by Coralie Fargeat. This is a movie that's just a wild ride. I knew a couple of things about it going in. I knew that it was a body horror film. I knew that it was also a satire of Hollywood and the way that we look at beauty and age in that industry. And I knew that it starred Demi Moore as Elizabeth Sparkle, who is an actress of a certain age. She's turning 50, which is kind of her expiration date in Hollywood. She's, was at one time very acclaimed. The film opens on this fantastic shot of her star being installed on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and it just charts it over the years. The star starts to crack, people drop food on it, and then the movie starts. I think it's the best opening shot of the year, maybe. So body horror film though. I knew it was a body horror film. Did not expect how hard this movie would go into being a body horror film. Elizabeth Sparkle meets a man who tells her about this drug called The Substance, and it gives you the ability to have another self, a different self, a younger self, a more beautiful self, a more perfect version of yourself. But there are rules to how you can handle this. You have to do certain things, and if you don't follow the rules, things can go wrong, and things go very wrong in this movie. I will not spoil anything else. Demi Moore is giving such a brave, fierce, funny performance in this movie. One of the best performances of the year, and the body horror elements of this movie really just go off the wall. The final 20 minutes of this film, almost sent me spiraling into a panic attack. It's like, if you've ever seen Requiem for a Dream, it's that kind of intensity that's just so overwhelming. It is an excellent film. Coralie Fargeat nailed this one. I think it's one of the year's best. Here on out, we are in masterpiece territory. I'm talking all 5-star films. We're going to go with number 5, Challengers by Luca Guadagnino. This is a tennis movie. It's also a very hot movie. This is the hottest movie of the year. The chemistry between the 3 leads of this film, Zendaya, Mike Feist, and Josh O'Connor, who gives another terrific performance this year after his work in La Chimera. They are Tashi Duncan, Patrick, and Art. They all meet playing tennis. Art and Patrick are friends. They meet Tashi at this tennis tournament in their youth. But the film starts with them as adults. Art and Tashi are married. Tashi's no longer playing. Art is kind of not on top of his game like he used to be, and Patrick is really down on his luck. He's sleeping in his car, his card's declining at shitty motels. So they come to this challengers tournament and they face off against each other for the first time in years. There is this love triangle between the three of them that the steam is just like rolling off the screen in this. And yeah, they play this game again, this game that brought them all together. The tennis in this movie is it's like entrancing. I don't like sports. I don't really like sports movies. I loved this one. The way that they shoot the tennis games is so interesting. You'll get a shot that's underneath the tennis court. So you're looking at them as if you're underneath the court. There's shots that are on the tennis ball as it bounces and volleys from side to side. This is a film about the game of tennis, but it's also a film about the games we play with each other. It's just super, super well done. The score by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, excellent. The cinematography, outstanding. The editing is some of the best of the year, if not the best edited film of the year. I can't say enough good things about Challengers. When I walked out of this film, I said, well, that's a 10. If that's not a 10, I don't know what a 10 is. It's just firing on all cylinders. It's perfectly done. Challengers by Luca Guadagnino. Number 4 is Hundreds of Beavers by Mike Cheslick. This is a movie that I saw way early in the year, and I was bowled over by what these filmmakers accomplished with this one. This was shot for $100,000 by friends from Wisconsin. They've made a couple other really small micro-budgeted films. This was their biggest budget film. It is about literally hundreds of beavers. Follows a man who's an Applejack salesman. His Applejack business goes boom in a really humorous way at the start of the film, and he has to kind of rebuild. It is a silent film. It is an homage to those silent films like Charlie Chaplin's The Gold Rush. I'm thinking of things like Looney Tunes and even video games. It's really strongly influenced by video games. There's this kind of quest structure to it. It's a 2-hour film that you wouldn't think could sustain itself for that long because it is a movie about a guy trapping hundreds of beavers. He has to rebuild. He starts trapping animals. And these animals are played by fully grown adults in mascot costumes and like furry costumes. I'm saying this and it sounds absolutely ridiculous, but it's so good. So yeah, he meets this guy who runs this trading post. He turns his furs into him, and as he's turning his furs into him, he meets his daughter, who he falls in love with. He wants to marry this girl, but the father says, you cannot marry my daughter, you're far too poor. If you want to marry her, though, you have to bring me hundreds of beavers. And so he sets about trapping hundreds of beavers. This movie is absurd in the best possible way. It just builds and builds and builds and builds, and you wouldn't think that it could keep going. And you're like, how is this not falling apart under its own weight? The inventiveness on display here, I mean, this was made for $100,000, like I said. And when you look at this film, and then you look at a film like Argylle, which, I mean, I talked about that in my worst stuff list, which is $250 million to make, which just pisses me off. You look at this and you look at Argylle. Tell me which film looks better. If you say Argylle, then much like the writers of that film, you must be experiencing brain trauma. This really shows what you can do with creativity, with imagination. These guys, I don't want to say they're going to be the next Daniels, because I think they're going to be their own thing. But they're displaying that kind of inventiveness that you saw from Daniels in that film, like Everything Everywhere All at Once. I would love to see what these guys can do given an even bigger budget, because I am in my seat for whatever they do next. I think they're brilliant. I think this film is brilliant. I think it's so clever, so creative, so wonderful. It will put a smile on your face. I guarantee it. Hundreds of Beavers. Check it out. So it was at this point that the ranking of the following three films became almost impossible for me. I went back and forth, recording and re recording the videos with each film in a different position. It was a real Sophie's choice, and my anxiety was like through the roof. Ultimately, if I could give these three films a tie for number one, I would. They each remind me of why I love movies so much. One of them is classical filmmaking at its finest, a true symphony of cinema. One of them is a film that spoke to me on such a personal level. And then one of them is the film that I feel just best encapsulates the year 2024 in cinema. I can't wait to tell you about each of them. Number three is a film that I saw at the Chicago Film Festival. I'd heard a lot of buzz for it coming out of Toronto and Venice. This is The Brutalist. Number three, The Brutalist by Brady Corbet. Wow. This movie is, when I say it's a towering achievement, that sounds like I'm just blowing smoke up its ass. I'm not. This is really the kind of filmmaking that you do not see anymore. Brady Corbet directs like this symphony. It is 3.5 hours long. It never feels it. It is about a man played by Adrian Brody, Laszlo Toth. He's a brutalist architect slash Holocaust survivor. He's Hungarian, he's Jewish, and he comes to America after World War II to rebuild his life. His wife, Ursabet, is still in Europe. She's played by Felicity Jones. Really terrific performance from her. And he begins working for a man who is very influential in the community. His name is Harrison Van Buren. He's played by Guy Pearce, who's giving career best work. And yeah, this Adrian Brody in this movie, though. I mean, I talk about all the performances in this film. They're all excellent, but Adrian Brody is giving what I think is the performance of the year. It's just really towering what he pulls off. I say towering again, but it really is. It's just... the only thing I could compare it to is something like Daniel Day-Lewis in There Will Be Blood. It's that kind of performance that you just can't take your eyes off of, and you can't help but marvel at the craft on display and the skill on display. He is one of our best actors, and his work in The Brutalist is outstanding. This film has a terrific score by Daniel Blumberg. It's the score of the year. I mean, it's just beautiful. I almost want to play some of it for you, but go check out the score for this movie. I mean, just I can hear it in my head. The cinematography by Will Crawley is so lush. It's shot on VistaVision. It looks beautiful. I saw it projected in 35 mil at the Music Box in Chicago. Brady Corbet was there. He did a Q&A. He talked about his process making this film. This is really just the type of movie you don't see anymore. You think people forgot how to make movies like this. But Brady Corbet proves that you still can make a movie like this. Again, 3.5 hours long. It never feels it. Every aspect of this film is just a masterclass in filmmaking. This film will be out. It's right now, I think it's in New York and LA, but it will be out soon. It's going to be a major awards contender, and I think that you have got to check this out. If you love cinema, see The Brutalist. It's a beautiful film. Number two is I Saw the TV Glow by Jane Schoenbrunn. This movie I saw back in May. It really made me feel something. It felt very personal. Jane Schoenbrunn is a trans director. This is a film with a very trans story to tell, but it also has a universality to it that I was really struck by, and I think a lot of people who love this film are really struck by. It does speak to the queer experience, but I think it can speak to any experience. If you've ever felt othered, if you've ever felt like there's some part of your identity that you need to hide, that you need to tamp down. This is a horror film, but the horror is yourself. It's that hiding of yourself, the horror of somebody finding out who you are. This is also a movie that deals with nostalgia in a really interesting way. I'm a 90s kid. This film is about two friends, Owen and Maddie, who bond over their shared love of a television show called The Pink Opaque. Now, The Pink Opaque is kind of like what you would get if you took a Snick show. I'm thinking something like Are You Afraid of the Dark? And you threw it in a blender with David Lynch's Twin Peaks. It's so bonkers and out there. And yet, as you're watching these clips from the show, and Jane Schoenbrun has shot these clips from the show that feel like you're actually watching an episode of a 90s children's television show, or a young adult television show. There's something so recognizable and so familiar about it that I feel like, oh, I've seen this show. I know this show. It's so comfortable and familiar to me. But Owen and Maddie, yeah, they love the Pink Opaque. Maddie, however, knows that they don't belong in this town. They know that there's something else out there for them, and they make plans with Owen to leave this town. But before they do, Owen backs out. Maddie disappears. All they find is Maddie's television set burning in their backyard, and then we jump forward in time. And I don't want to talk about the movie anymore, because I think this is a movie you just have to discover. The ending of this film is a gut punch. Yeah, I think I said, that Evil Does Not Exist was the most haunting ending of the year, and it is certainly the most enigmatic. But actually, now that I think about it, I think that the ending for I Saw the TV Glow is the most haunting ending of the year. It really just dug its claws into me and ripped my heart out. Justice Smith in this film is so good. He should be nominated for every award. And the thing with this film is that I don't think it's going to get nominated for anything. I think it is certainly an acquired taste. I cannot say that it is for everybody, but I think that the acting on display, the writing is undeniable. This is really just something incredibly special, and I just love this film. Bridget Lundy Payne plays Maddie. They are excellent. I can't say enough good things about this film. It's so special. I think if you love it, you will love it. And if you don't, you'll know right away, I think. But if you are an adventurous moviegoer and you are okay with things being surreal and not super spelled out to you, and being able to take your own interpretation from a film and not having things just laid out and clean and nice, I really think this is a movie that's just filled with rewards and treasures. It's a movie that I'm going to come back to again and again and again, and take something different from each time. Yeah, it's a masterpiece. And my number one film of the year is Anora by Sean Baker. Sean Baker, if you're not familiar with him, is a very, very special filmmaker. He tells stories largely about the sex work community, and he tells them with such honesty and respect and empathy. His film, The Florida Project, I think is like a masterclass in filmmaking as an empathy machine. But what he does in Anora is just, he's in another league here. He takes everything that he's learned in his previous films and he puts them into this one movie. The film centers around Anora, played by Mikey Madison, in a true star-making turn. What she's doing in this movie is like a high-wire act. She's juggling so many emotions. She's charming, she's funny, she's likable, she's vulnerable, she's wounded. And she does them all so well. Really just a terrific performance, one of the performances of the year. So she's a dancer at this club in Brighton Beach, and one day the son of a Russian oligarch comes into the club. He asks to see a dancer who speaks Russian, and he is half Russian, and they begin this whirlwind romance. Now, the film starts to feel a little like this more realistic version of Pretty Woman, but then the tone changes in the second act when Vanya's parents find out about Annie. And these three goons enter the picture, including Yura Borisov, who gives, I think, the supporting performance of the year in this movie as Igor. Mark Adelstein is great. Karen Kargulian as one of the other goons. He's fantastic. He's a frequent collaborator of Sean Baker's. We've also got Vash Tomayasin as another one of the goons. And yeah, this movie takes some turns that you just wouldn't expect it to take. And it's the right decision. It's spinning all these plates uh, and doing all these tones, but it's doing all of them so well in a way that shouldn't work but totally does. Uh, this is a movie that I hope is recognized at the end of the year when we come to award season. It's really just tremendous filmmaking. I think Sean Baker is really having his moment with this film. And yeah, it's just so good, you guys. If you haven't seen Anora, please seek it out. I think it's on streaming now. You can rent it. Yeah, it's a throwback to so many kinds of movies. I mean, it reminded me a lot when I walked out of it of Frank Capra's It Happened One Night, which was not something that I thought I would take from this movie. It's also got shades of Cassavetes. Yeah, Nora is really special, and yeah, I hope that I hope that this movie wins all the awards at the end of the year because it would deserve them. Anora. So that was my top 20 of the year. What do you think? Do you disagree? Agree with me on anything? Anything that wasn't on the list that you thought should have been? Let me know. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. And this was kind of fun, so I think I might actually continue to make videos throughout the year with reviews. So yeah, keep an eye out for maybe more content. And Happy New Year. Thanks for watching.